Council ready?
Ready?
We want to welcome everyone to the January 7th, 2025. That's 2025. Centerville City Council meeting held at 7 o'clock at Centerville City Hall. We welcome staff that's present. We welcome residents that are present, both in person and on Zoom, that may be joining us. Let's get a roll call of the council members, see if we can conduct business tonight. So I'll start with Councilman Meekum.
Meekum present.
Summer Hayes present.
Heeman present.
Hurst present.
Plummer present.
All 5 council members present. Thank you for being here, everyone. So I will begin with a legislative prayer, and I am the one to sign that this evening. Our Father in heaven, we're very grateful for the opportunity we have together to gather as City Council and with friends and neighbors, staff, residents, and all that may be joining us. We're grateful for the freedoms that allow us to be able to do this in our country, in our state, in our county, in our city. We ask that thou may bless those that protect the city, that they can have thy blessings with them. Help us as people of this great city, that we can honor our forefathers that came before us and try and uphold the great standards that have been set in this community. Help us to treat each other with kindness and respect, and be able to debate civilly in all that we do. We're so grateful for the founding fathers and for the freedoms that they allowed us to have, and how they set up our Constitution and our country. We ask that thou may have thy blessings with us this night, and we ask that this weather that we're having, that we may be able to be protected from too many ill effects. And this we say in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
You'd all rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item that we have on our agenda is the open session. This is the part of the meeting that allows the public to address an issue that might be on their mind. I would tell you that in advance that we do have a requirement that anything that we discuss in great detail, we need to do a 24-hour notice on, so the public has an opportunity to participate. So this open session, it does allow the information to get out there, and for us to be, the council be able to entertain it, and to see how we take that information and what we may do with it in detail in future meetings. We appreciate everyone that's come tonight. We ask if you are to address in the open session that you state your name and where you're from. And we do try and keep comments to around 3 minutes. So be respectful of council and others that are here that may want to comment as well too. And so I will now open that open session. Like I said, just please address your name and where you're from. So that is now available for whoever would like to come up.
Thank you, Council. I'm Rick Bangeter, 50-year resident of Centerville, and I also am a business and property owner in the industrial park down here. Here to talk a little bit about the storm drain increase fees and the procedures and the situation as it specifically affects businesses in our beloved Centerville. I want to I want to say, maybe for some of the public who's here, the three issues. The city evaluated and recalculated fees that businesses, property owners, and all residents are paying in the city. And there was an evaluation done and a number of things discussed as a consequence of that so-called audit. It was really a self-evaluation. Usually when you have an audit, you have an outside party do that. There's a little concern about conflict of interest, who did the audit. But the next thing was then after they made these assessments, some businesses went down, a whole bunch went way up, and the city decided to require that we charge those businesses for 4 prior years of billed service fees for this situation, when the culpability for the whole problem is the egg on the face that the city has because those bills were inaccurate for so many years. The third is the enormous 50% raise or initiation of a 50% increase in storm drain utility fees citywide. It was so interesting to note, as I have read through reams of pages on the minutes of these meetings, how repeatedly the council and members identified, in their few meetings. By the way, there were, I think, 5 closed session meetings on this, from which there are very few minutes provided because closed session is not open to the public. By the way, I do want to disclose that I was on the city council, elected and served my 4 years on the city council. Part of that time was 1999 when the Storm Drain Fund was initiated. I probably know it as well as anybody in this city because that was a huge deal. We heavily involved the business community most heavily affected by this, and residents and people who had interest in that. None of that has transpired with these new. That is the point tonight. There has not been a public hearing, nor an open house, and I fully understand public hearings are not required because truth in taxation law, a service fee is a fee, it's not a tax. But I'm so disappointed that our city council sensitively, morally, ethically, when it affects some entities to such a great degree, and we're talking, folks, some of these businesses, tens of thousands of dollars, only a few that much, but many thousands of dollars with some of these decisions, with no solicitation for input from any of those entities that I'm aware of. Maybe there were some individually, but there was none reported in any of the meetings, nor was there opportunity for any of those folks to come and give voice, maybe some suggestions. Businessmen are pretty smart about business things, and that's our extreme frustration. And I obviously have the vested interest of having been a big part of this from the on-go. So, those impact, and you are each going to receive 15, 16-page document with a bunch of notes that I've accumulated, that I put together regarding procedures and whatnot. You'll each get a copy, and I'll have a few for a couple of people in the audience. I'm not going to give them to you and tell him through because I don't want you skimming it yet. There is so much to cover here that 3 minutes is absolutely, and my time's probably already up. One thing I did want to identify was I'll quickly go to the board here if I may. The city in the last couple of
Hold
years
on,
has
Rick,
brought
would you
in.
wait 1 second so I can grab you a microphone, just so we can get you on the record? Sorry.
Can I talk loud enough down the road?
Minutes don't pick it up.
just quickly, the last couple of years, the city's brought in about 1.3 million in the storm drain utility fund. The corrected calculations for the businesses, and there are 370-something businesses, 319 of them were corrected. The city had made a mistake on 319 bills, some of them for 20 years. Okay, and that was the correction to bring it to where the calculation should be for those businesses amounts to $150,769 in the aggregate. That alone, so that's happened. Businesses now started paying that a month or two ago. And that is in place and will be for the continuing future. That's an 11%, that amounts to an 11% increase of what was already there. So that alone, council, raised your storm drain fees 11%. But the city has to pay back $102,000 of that to the unfortunate businesses that the city overcharged in the last 4 years. That amounts to $102,000. That still leaves you this year with $47,000. That $109,000 goes away after this year. But the point is, and this is still a 3% increase after you pay back the businesses that were overcharged. I wanted to also notice that if the businesses are forced to pay the 4 years back, the city's just asked those businesses to contribute over the course of 4 years this amount, and that's $603,000. That's close to half of what you have been getting in a given year. And so you add those numbers together, this and this, that would be the aggregate of how much the city makes, 1.4 million, just with the implementation of the corrected fees, no back money, but you get that. Half of that, which you're now suggesting, 50% increase, not suggesting, that was implemented December 26th. We start paying it, and I would conjecture, council, that not 5% of the businesses and commercial property owners in this city know that's even happened, and won't know that until they get their first bill the end of January, and there's been no explication, no notification that it's coming, no opportunity for businesses who usually budget and plan a year and do their whatnot to prepare for that, to pay that kind of money, and the expectation with it just magically is going to show up on an invoice this next January. That 50% increase would bring in every year $745,000, half of this number, and your budget's going to be 2.2 million. Your revenue is going to be 2.2 million. That's a big ask, City Council. Our point is that's a huge ask to individuals who have not been advised, consulted, no sensitivity to what this is doing. And what I started to say earlier was in the council, in many of the minutes and notes, the identification is maybe we ought to wait, and several of you, and I've got that identified in this paper, made comments that we need to prepare for this so that when we have the public hearing or we have the open house, we can give them a heads up, and so that residents can prepare. Residents' fees go up $4. And there's been a number of times people have commented, it's only $4. And the emphasis and the focus is, and that's, we love our residents. I'm one of them too. We all are. And that's appropriate that we be concerned about raising Widow Brown's fee from $13 or from $8 to $12. That's appropriate, but is not it appropriate to consider a business who's tens of thousands of dollars asked and in arrears? I am not a big player in that. My fees are not enormous. I've disclosed them in here. I'm one of the little guys, minuscule compared to some of them. But these businesses and this is the community. These are the folks that fund this city. I hope you all appreciate. Businesses bring 65% of the total revenue, no, 63% of the total revenue into this city. Between the sales taxes they collect for us and bring to the city, the property taxes they pay, which is at 100% of their properties. Residents only pay 50% property tax. Taxes on 50% of their valued property. Unfortunately, it's just been so frustrating to find this out, all of it after the fact. And somebody who obviously reads every city council note or minute could maybe be apprised, but that isn't the case. And a notification or a letter maybe to your business community would have really gone a long ways and would have helped with this process. I know my time is up. There are 6 quick recommendations that I'd like to suggest, and that we hope, and I sure hope this gets captured in the minutes. Certainly, at least today, I hope that one of you city council members will make a motion when we're through to agenda a public hearing or an open house, an opportunity for this to be readdressed. All 4 issues, the calculations, which I don't think you're going to find much controversy over, but the 4 years back and the 50% increase, the amount of that increase. And that one of you make a motion and somebody second it and then it pass, that it goes on an agenda in the next city council meeting or very soon hereafter. Next is that impervious surface recalculations and corrections be considered, and that there's a clear process set up to appeal that. I don't see that yet, although I have talked to Mike Carlson. I think I understand, but I don't think that's written down. And that the city readdress this back charges for 4 years. And of course, we think that's inappropriate. We feel that should in no way, shape, or form be required. The mayor had some good examples of why that would not be. I was in the roofing business for a number of years. How appropriate would it be for me to go back to one of my clients who I put a roof on for 4 years ago, say, oh, that took 30 more bundles of shingles than it should have taken. I need to charge you $500 for that job I did for you 4 years ago. That's what the city's doing. That's just not right, folks. It's not right. Regarding the resolution, strongly recommend that you give us a voice and we have an opportunity to address that 50%. Now, widow so-and-so also only got a 3% increase in her Social Security. Her storm drain fee has gone up 50%. We businesses, 50%. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And maybe we tighten our belts so we don't hire the employee that's been talked about yet till we can afford it. There are solutions. There are ways to work around these things. Another is that a little help would be that Centerville City pays its share. So we recommend that a resolution or directive be given that Centerville City pays its own proportionate share toward utility fees. The city has a big footprint of non-pervious surface area in the city. Right now, the businesses and the residents are subsidizing the stormwater that this building is putting into our system. And Centerville City might pay an appropriate share. I know the LDS Church worked for them for 11 years and managed the properties we have. We have a huge footprint in the city. The LDS Church pays those fees. So do other institutions that are nonprofit and religious oriented. If the city, and I know you're going to say, well, that's just taking it out of one pot and putting it in another, but so it comes out of the general fund, it puts it in the utility fund, okay, in the drain fund, then those monies are in that coffer to pay for the employee, help pay for the employee, to help pay for the infrastructure that the city is helping to wear out along with us. That's a big footprint. Two more. Is the place on hold and consider hiring the new employee. I saw that was approved, some finances for it. That might already happen. The notes are unclear whether that's being paid for, though, out of the water raise. I think Councilman Summerhays, I think you made in the notes a comment there that, and as Mr. Placer, that the water fund needs that 4% increase conservative 4%. Way to go, Mike Carlson. That's good. 50's not. And, and that was going towards this storm drain person back in early minutes. And then it's back and forth in the utility fund. So somewhere there needs to be some correction so we understand who that individual would be paid under. But maybe hold back a little on that. And then the last one here, and I do this to make a point. Inasmuch as the mayor and the city council decided to cancel the council meeting in the second week of the second council meeting in the second half of December, and there were some of us vying for an opportunity back that early before the 50% increase went online, and we hadn't heard about this, I didn't learn about this until I got the first part, even until November 17th, when a letter arrived telling me I had to pay 4 years back. And in that letter, the opportunity that the city had in that letter, notifying businesses of 4 years back, there was no mention that be prepared. We're also considering a resolution to increase all storm drain fees 50%. That nothing's happened. There's not been a notification in our bills that city council is looking at this, considering this, be aware, be advised. But anyway, the city council decided to cancel that meeting for the reason stated that there weren't enough items for the agenda, when there certainly was some agenda item. We were hoping for that. So my recommendation is that city council and mayor are compensated so many dollars each month. The mayor makes $1,200. So our suggestion is work to half a month that week, that month. So the mayor might contribute $600, half of his salary. Council members make $600, that's $300 each. And that money be contributed to the utility storm drain fund. That'd be $2,100 to help apparently that challenging revenue for that entity. We'll be watching that. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry I've taken my wife's 3 minutes too, and she always takes longer than she needs. So
I'm assuming, Rick, all those ideas are also in these papers?
yes.
Okay, so we'll look at those. Jennifer, you or someone, the staff, get a picture of the board so we can see if his numbers are verifying or accurate as well too.
They're all in this document too.
Okay, thank you.
And yes, I will absolutely admit that the city couldn't tell me how many businesses there were. The city couldn't, they didn't have a way to differentiate. So those numbers are extrapolated from the audit report that Cameron prepared, and I had to go through and add up all the numbers and do the percentages and the amounts. There could easily be a few little inaccuracies.
Okay.
But that would be really well for somebody to audit and look at that closer. Also in the audit itself.
Thank you, Rick.
Sorry.
Okay, continuing on the open session. Others, state your name and where you're from.
I'm with Rick, Merrill Sheriff. And I actually live in Kaysville, but I have lots of properties in Centerville. This storm drain thing really was tough for a guy like me that I have office warehouses and I have tenants that have lease agreements for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, different things. I can't go back to these guys 4 years ago and say, hey, the city messed up and they're trying to bill me now, so now I need you to pay me $500 more for the time that you've been here. It's just not fair. It's just kind of a bad idea, a bad deal. And, if I was to go back to some of my clients and say, sorry I didn't bill you right for this construction job, they would just laugh at me. So we probably ought to rethink that. Maybe the city needs to start fresh at a point and get the storm drain system worked out right. But when we build our buildings down there, we made retention ponds out of our parking lots. And at the time, we were supposed to get some relief on the storm drain fees for our retention ponds, because we actually retain the water from all the houses that come off the hill in our own parking lots so that we don't overload the system, which works fantastic. But sometimes when we have a big storm, I have a parking lot full of water, and it takes a couple hours to get it out, but I don't see that we're getting any help for putting in those retention ponds to help out with the storm drain system, so there's a lot of things that we probably ought to talk about, and if we could maybe have an open session or something, a session that we could visit with the council and try to get this worked out so that it works for everybody too. It's just not fair for us to have to bite the bullet on this, so thank you for your time.
Thanks, Merrill. Anyone else?
Jason Traveler. I'm part of a business ownership as well. And I would echo what Rick and what Merrill have talked about. Just the unexpectedness of this, the audit with the storm drain situation kind of caught us off guard. Rick actually made a good point. We have budgets in place that we have allotted money for throughout the year. And to kind of get the surprise for us, you know, at the end of the year that we had to come up with a few $1,000s to help offset. And I don't want to point fingers, but a mistake by the city, you know, it's one thing. But I agree. I think to go back 4 years is a little overreaching, in my opinion. You know, I understand that there's fees, that there's a price to pay to keep utilities up to date, to keep things current, to provide a good service to the citizens, to the business owners of the city. And I'm not opposed to that, and I agree with what's been said. I think that should be evaluated. I think there are some steep increases that are coming. However, again, that's part of business. You know, the one difficult thing for us is kind of what Merrill alluded to, is I can't go back to my clients 4 years ago and ask them to, you know, repay some oversights that I missed, or an oversight that I missed. Like, that just doesn't happen. And that's where I think we have a hard time with this too, based on our budgets, based on trying to come up with additional money to offset, you know, something that was out of our control, especially going back for the period of time we're talking about. So I would suggest as well, and I would encourage that, can we have an open discussion? Can we discuss, you know, the actions to go forward? But also, I'd like to revisit what's happened in the past and, you know, I mean, I hate to say this, but the fairness of kind of what's been implemented on us with no representation, no say in the matter. That would be something that I think I would ask for, is just to have at least a discussion about what has happened and what the implications of that were, and what possibility there could be to maybe make things whole again. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason, appreciate it.
I've been here before, as you know, and I won't repeat what's already been said, other than just in support. I think it's really easy to go after a group like.
We all know you, but state for the record, your name.
Oh,
where you're
I'm
from,
sorry,
so
Jeff
we-
Cook, and I live at 582 North, 340 East in Centerville.
Thanks, Jeff.
I own business property west of the freeway. My mom owns property on Main Street and the storage units, and I think I mentioned you, I can't remember the exact number now, John, isn't it 20-something thousand? I just don't feel it's been a fair process.
Thanks, Jeff. Others? Ms. Bangerter, you're welcome to take 3 minutes, even though your husband took your 3 minutes. Okay. This is an open session, so there's, if there's anything besides this matter, you're welcome to stand up as well, too, if there's anything, other topics. So, as I said at the start of the open session, because we are under state law to give 24-hour notice of anything that comes to the public. This is something that, through the paperwork we've received, through the comments that you've given tonight, that we will have to entertain. We will check some of the facts, that type of thing. I do want to point out, because Rick and I had an hour-and-a-half conversation last week, that there are things that aren't being brought up here as well, too, such as past city councils, past mayors, past employees of the city, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, over 25 years have not caught something that was done incorrectly where there has been no increases at all during that 25 years. It makes it difficult on these certain employees, on this council, that all of a sudden we're the ones that are in the middle of this. We appreciate the hard work of employees that have caught this. Could it have been more brought to the public's light? Yes. There was not, to my knowledge, any 5 closed session meetings. I don't recall that. I think I would have been in on every one of those if there was. So employees go about doing their work, so if we're referring to those as closed session meetings. And also, I don't think it's fair necessarily to say that we didn't have a council meeting and wages should go to that, because I spent 2/3 of my day today on city stuff when I have a CPA firm to run. And I do that practically every day. So it's not just one city council that's missed. There's hours going in daily by council and a mayor that people don't see. And so I take some real offense to that personally. And I appreciate the employees and all they're doing as well too. It's been difficult for them. So as we work through this matter, I would just ask that there be politeness. I appreciate the politeness tonight and the civil matter, that, and we can look at this and see what's taken place. Like I said, without discussing specifics, which the public needs to have the right, we can look at this in the future. Is there anything staff-wise or council-wise that we can throw out that may help without going into great details on it?
I would just say maybe we could address, it sounds like most of the comments made asked for some public discussion and possibly a public hearing, which I think is an important thing that we maybe could discuss at this juncture and try to, get that on a future agenda. Agree with that?
And with that said, Councilmember Hurst, I think it's important to go back and see how many times this was on the agenda. Rick, you mentioned mid-November is the first time you heard about it, but Jeff was actually at our meeting on September 17th when he voiced concern. So this has been out to the public and to businesses for months and months and months already. So I just want to be careful that we go back and get the right facts as to what was actually noticed from a public hearing standpoint. And to Mayor's point, I don't know that I recall any closed hearings specifically about our drainage fee increases. So I think everything, we've had closed meetings, but not on those topics.
I totally agree with you on that. I
I'm
don't
not
recall
trying
any
to,
closed.
I'm not disagreeing with the point that we like to engage with the community. But if we addressed every concern that brought up to us to reopen a public or bring up another, the same item as a public hearing again and again because somebody doesn't agree with our decision, it's a challenging precedent. I'm not saying that we don't do that. It's just, I'm trying to think through the mechanics of that.
Normally, I would completely agree with you, but I think we're all in agreement, public included, that perhaps we did make some mistakes along the way. Maybe it would have been nice, this was discussed in May, voted on in a May meeting,
Part of the budget?
yeah, but May
Increase?
21st is what I'm recalling is when it first came to our attention, and maybe it would have been better had we, I don't want to say that, I appreciate everything city staff did, and I don't want to say it was a mistake, but obviously this did hit, I got my first phone call in August on this issue, very upset business owner in the room here, and got one just a day later from another business owner. And the reality is they were not given a whole lot of time to make that payment, and I want to be fair to our businesses. They are important to our community. So I guess I'm just saying, hey, we maybe didn't, this is a difficult situation, and I can't say that anything is going to change, but I can say, let's give these guys a chance to talk a little bit about it and maybe present some of their, I think we've heard quite a few of their concerns. I would be willing to spend that time and make this, as right as we can with our businesses. Whether or not it changes anything, because I can't speak for all of you, and, obviously it would maybe be going back to a vote if we're opening it for an agenda item, but I just want to make sure that we are fair in that way. I want to acknowledge that they did not get a whole lot of notice, and while we said in public meetings after that, let's be as, equitable and, work with them as much as we possibly can, they really haven't been given the chance to speak publicly about this.
And I have to agree with that. I do want the audience to realize, I've been on the council for 9 years, and I sat where you did, and I sometimes felt like things were done behind the closed doors. So when I was put on with some other council members, we went onto YouTube. Every single meeting is on YouTube, so I don't feel like we're doing behind closed doors anymore, and I'm very proud of that, because I know that you guys don't spend your evenings watching us on YouTube. My mother watches us about half the time, and I think she's our biggest fan, so. But I do want you to know that I think everyone here is, and I personally am doing my very best to be very open with everybody. I agree with Gina. I wished, looking backwards now, that we had maybe got more information out to the community than we did. I think this came up as a shock to all of us, and I think that, I'm more than willing to take the time to listen. I don't know what can be, I don't know, can't really go back and redo, but there's some lessons to be learned. But we have an excellent staff, and these are not the people that made the mistake in the first place. So I hope as you deal with our staff members that you'll be they're really struggling too, because this wasn't a fun thing for them either.
Mayor, for my part, I'm happy to have conversations. I'm happy to have private conversations too, and I respond to each email that I receive from citizens and community, so I don't think I've gotten an email from Rick or Merrill or Jeff or any others here, Jason. So if you want to spend time, again, to Mayor's point, these are all the hours that we spend that, to go unrecognized, but I'm happy to meet with you individually and talk through these issues. So send me an email and let's schedule a time. That's from one council member, not the council incomplete.
I feel the same way, but there are people in this room that did call me, even though they didn't send an email. There's no question that there was concern from this group of people, and who knows, maybe other people who aren't here tonight and couldn't be for whatever reason. I don't want to,
So it appears to me that, based on the material we've gotten, that we will have a further discussion on it. You've been welcome to contact council members individually as well, too. You're welcome to contact me as well, too. I'll do my best to get back with you as well. I do want the businesses to know that I'm a big supporter of the businesses. I've been in private business with myself and working with small businesses from day one in my career. I appreciate everything they do in the community, the support, the pledging of helping out with events that we have in the city. I've gone to Bryce and I said, hey, I'd like to get out to see some of these businesses. I would welcome input from you as well, too, if you want to have them. a monthly meeting or a monthly luncheon meeting or whatever, so I can get more of the business owners' input. I mean, anything that we can do to support businesses, because to Rick's, your point, it does keep our property taxes reasonable for residents when we're able to obviously get those taxes that we get from sales tax and water impact fees and everything else that, so I appreciate and want to do whatever I can for businesses as well too. So, fair enough. Have I missed anything? Okay. The open session, I haven't closed it yet. If there's anything else, jump up here and give us your piece. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next agenda item if, and hopefully that what we said that satisfied you, and we have commitments to where we'll follow up on this with you. And thank you everyone for your time and coming tonight.
Mayor, can I just ask, not to burden staff more and more, but I think it's important that we're working from the same set of facts as we, I've already offered to meet with the businesses to hear tonight, but I'd like to have, conceptually, I'm comfortable with where we're at. But if there are specific facts, that we're working from the same set of facts. So if staff can prepare any rebuttals or consistencies or inconsistencies with what's been presented here or tonight or over the past few months, I'd like to have that.
I think it would be helpful as well, but yeah, I
Just maybe a
apologize
bullet
that
point summary might be helpful. I don't know, Brant, is that a fair ask?
It's a fair ask. I mean, the
Yeah.
information we provided is, when we talk about the 4 years and the statutory requirements in a memo that was received and sent out to everybody. So it's not necessarily a rebuttal. I think it's more of just a re-education or conversation of what we've already discussed. It's not a rebuttal. It's just the opportunity to just have the conversation to remind from the beginning of how we got here, right? So that's more so. I don't think it's a rebuttal by any means.
Okay. Thank you.
Further the education.
Mayor, one more quick comment.
Come on up, Jeff. Sure.
Thanks to each of you. I appreciate the responses we've heard. The one thing I just want to say is, and I don't speak for everyone here, I'm just speaking for myself, but, personally, the increases, I'm sure I know there was a lot of effort went into figuring out what the increases are going to be. And 50% is a lot. I don't have a problem personally, with the increase. I have a problem with going back 4 years and penalizing us. And that's a lot of money, and it's personal now. You're not going to pay this personally, you're not. But my mom's going to pay over $20,000 going back 4 years. And a lot of businesses will, and we never did get a chance to come and comment. There were probably, if we'd have been sleuths, we could have, but we weren't aware of anything. And the part of all this that bothers me the most is that 4 years, because none of us can go back and try to repair anything 4 years ago. So for us, it's just a direct hit at our bottom line. And I really think that is unfair. Going forward, at least we have a chance to budget and plan for it. But we can't go back, and if you go back, you hurt us. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that comment. Fair enough. Many of you here I do know, so those that didn't comment, you'll probably get a call from me. Some of you that I don't know, feel free to call me as well too. And we've had other council members up as well. Come on up.
Yeah.
I haven't closed it yet.
Okay, thank you.
Tell us who you are and where you're
I'm
from.
Mike Hurst, pardon me, and
Is that on this topic or a new one, Mike?
it is on this topic.
I was hoping we could get some relief, a new one.
Well, Jeff,
Go ahead.
Jeff
Just
spoke,
teasing.
Jeff Cook spoke exactly what I've been thinking the whole time, is I think we bring these issues, but there hasn't been a solution proposed yet. And I'm a person of solution. And so I think to me, what Jeff stated was a solution I wanted to say that I'm now going to reiterate because he mentioned it. We can't change the fact of inflation, costs, mistakes are found. And I agree with Jeff, you've heard it, and from Rick and everybody, over and over again, as a business, we can't go back. And, you know, in my entity as well, I can't go back and charge customers for a mistake 4 years ago, but what we can do is make a change to correct it. So to me, it'd be a proposal that I'd like noted on the city council, is that we understand the increase needs to happen because the error was found, but I think the 4-year fee that was collected, and I didn't like the tone of it. I reached out to the city council people here, and this might be a letter that was shared publicly, but it was to Nate from Lisa when I reached out specifically, and it talks about the statute of limitations, and maybe it was shared publicly, maybe it was just sent to me, I'm not sure. It seems like more of a generic type letter stating why you can go back 4 years. Well, all of us can go back 4 years. I could go back 4 years to my clients, but you know what happens? They're not a client anymore. And that'll make them run and leave and not do business with me anymore. And to Jeff's point, I think categorically, my business is up there in the top tiers because I have 2 properties as far as the fee impact. And it was, you know, just shy of $12,000 for our business, significant amount of money between the 2 buildings. And so my proposal is this, that I think that should be, and we had to pay it. We had no choice. You gave us some outlined options, which to me, if it's a 4-year mistake, it should have a 4-year payment cycle. The longest payment cycle you offered was a 1-year payment cycle, which I think isn't fair. And so it should have been more in favor of the business to do that. And so the solution for me is you go back, and I paid it because we felt like our hand was forced, that we get reimbursed that money, but then you can have your increased fee structure going forward so we can budget for it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Fair enough comments. Thanks, Mike. All right, last chance. I'm going to move on from the open session. Both council and the public. So, okay, thank you, everyone. Good input. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I disseminated those copies, I think extras back for you.
They were passed out to us. Do you have extras?
We passed it down, so Councilor.
Didn't have any extra. I gave Robin the last
That
one.
maybe Robin has them,
Got
Rick.
one?
I've only got one.
Just
Will
got
you
one.
hand that down to Councilor Summerhouse?
I've got one.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got one.
Is there,
There's an extra here. Rick, you can come grab it.
Okay, it's fine. I'll get one from.
Thank you, though.
Thanks.
Councilman Summers, can I just say the reason that I wanted to talk to the group as a whole is so that they all hear the same thing. We talk one-on-one, which the mayor's been very kind and responded and had a good talk. They can do that 5 times, or anybody can. It's nice when you have a group so that we hear it together and get a discussion together. I know that was an open session discussion today, but
I just want to let you know my line's open.
thank you.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to item number 1. This is a High Performance Leadership Academy graduation. Bryce, you want to come up and tell us about this?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. This is a graduation ceremony, so to say, for a few staff members that have gone through this High Performance Leadership Academy that we've done over the last couple of years. I think if we had everybody in this room stand up, a majority of the people in this room have gone through this academy. And it's been a great beneficial thing for a lot of people to go through a 12-week program, talk about some really high-performance leadership topics, meet as a group nationally with other people going through the academy, and then collaboratively communicating with each other internally of things, that topics that everyone has learned over the 12-week period of time. Brant and I have felt like it's been a great asset to our city to see our employees grow and to have this opportunity to kind of have this new networking opportunity and grow in their leadership skills. Many of our employees will eventually grow into different roles, and this academy will be a great foundation for them going forward, whether it's in their career here in Centerville, which we hope forever, or wherever they may go in the future. So tonight, we would like to recognize 3 graduates that have gone So I'll announce them, and then I'll just do one by one, and I'm going to have each of them kind of give a brief statement of kind of what they learned, that they got from this year's, or this last
Yeah,
week's session.
seriously, we heard that.
They were prepared. They were prepared. So I'll first start with Lieutenant Barnes.
I thought for a moment I'd hit my knee against it.
Do I talk now?
Yeah, you can talk.
Advance notice would have been nice.
Oh, shoot.
I'll just say that, once again, grateful for the opportunity to have been provided some great training through my employment here. This Leadership Academy was great for me. It was a great opportunity to learn about some strategies to help me identify areas where I can improve. And the biggest thing for me was the opportunity to self-reflect and think about areas where I might be deficient, I can improve, and then, work with my people to help me get better in my leadership skills and abilities, to help me be more successful and improve myself and improve the department in the process. I'm just very grateful. It was very good.
Let me give you your plaque while you're up here.
You gonna do pictures, Bryce?
What's that?
Pictures with the mayor?
Yeah, you want me, let's have them, okay.
Mayor and/or council?
Sydney, you want to come next, or Mike?
They had warning since LT went first.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor, and staff. During my high performance leadership course, it was very interesting to hear about certain types of leadership styles as well as skills. But I think for me, what really was impactful was taking time out of each week to kind of understand my own limitations that I have right now and where I can go. With that being said, there were things that I already knew, like talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and learning how to apply that to leadership, taking psychology, dynamics and applying that to how to communicate with people as well as what persuades people. I think that learning and starting from probably a lot less than what other people have done thus far, meaning people are a lot more seasoned than I am in the leadership, but I have a lot of room to grow, and I think that taking this course showed me that my potential is there, and these skills and these tools are going to be available for a very long time, thankfully. So I really appreciate that the staff gave me the opportunity to take it, and I know that also a lot of the people that I work with have given me a lot of support to step into some leadership roles, so.
Thanks, Sydney.
Mike?
Hello, Mayor, Council, staff. I appreciate the opportunity to have been able to participate in the Performance Academy. What I found really intriguing about the process is being able to collaborate with representatives or similar professionals from different states. So in my group specifically, I had representation from the state of Illinois, obviously Utah, Colorado, Nevada, and California. And what was really fascinating about it is, as we study these topics and have these meetings over 12 weeks, seeing how similar and even more complex their challenges are, and realizing that the challenges we are facing, even though it may feel sometimes like we're on an island, we're definitely not. And it was really fascinating to hear what they were going through and what they were dealing with, and some of their own leadership issues, both internally, I guess you'd say, downward as far as their management responsibilities, but also upward as far as the public at large and their own leadership structures. And it was really rewarding and strengthening to realize that, you know, as a comparative approach, I feel like I'm doing an equally good job to other professionals in the field. Meaning it was very validating and also very helpful to realize that I can't always be perfect even though I want to be, but I need to work as hard as I can to strive to be as best as I can. And so that was a very good learning experience for me. So I think it was very valuable, and I appreciate the opportunity to participate that way. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Mayor, you want to come down and do a picture? Here's yours.
So I'll just reiterate, I've attended several leadership trainings throughout my career, through ICMA, leadership ICMA, early career leadership ICMA, all these different. I think this one's my favorite because it really captures all those other ones. You don't have to maybe attend those. This one really captures a component of all those other ones, and it was a good reminder when I went through of all the things I'd learned before. I am kind of one of those that believe all leadership training is basically the same. But it's a good reminder to not be complacent in what we're doing and continually finding a way to get better. So that's why I think it's good that we go through them.
I think council should be here with me.
What?
Sounds like we're instructed to do so.
You guys approved this.
That is true.
Back in here. That's better.
And 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's awesome. There you go, Bryce. It's backwards. Yeah, the wheels are awful.
Not the way you're going.
The wheels need to go.
Oh, yeah.
Have their seat on the
Jeff, I know.
Oh my God, that needs to be. Oh my God.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We'll continue to do this Leadership Academy. We feel like it's a strong strength to our city. Currently, we'll have 3 more employees starting, Jeremy Brown, Jace Witherby, and, oh gosh, what? Oh, Ron Wright. And then Lisa Bednars will be going through, she'll be our first person to go through the High Performance Leadership Academy cybersecurity. So she'll be starting that as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Bryce. Thank you, everybody being willing to share your feelings on it as well too, because that's big help to the council. All right, let's move on to summary action. We have on our summary action calendar, we have 2 bond reductions and a bid award. I'm thinking that maybe we take these individually, especially since we may have the discussion on the bid award, Park Playground. So let's look at the first one, the bond reduction, Summerhill Lane. This is end of warranty for Summerhill Lane in the amount of $91,925.34. Is there any questions on this particular item before I ask for a motion on it?
Just, Mike, is this the end of all the Summerhill Lane warranty stuff, or we still have other things outstanding? And you may not know the answer to that question, but I just thought I'd ask it. It says 0, but I didn't know if there was an additional bond for any other future.
I think that takes them into warranty period, but I think there's one more
Okay.
at that point.
Yeah, a different
I may be
bond
mistaken,
for
but
a
I
different
believe so.
portion of work? Okay,
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
They have a drain line bond
Okay,
that separated out from this original bond
Okay.
so that they could close out this one.
perfect, that answered my question. Thanks,
Stay here
Jennifer.
for a second, in the chair right there, in case there's a question on the next one. Any further questions on that one? Motion on that one then?
Do you want me to make a motion
Yeah,
on the Summerhill Lane one?
yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the bond reduction number 9 and end of warranty for Summerhill Lane in the amount of $91,925.34.
Second?
I have a second to that. Further discussion? Councilwoman Meekum.
Aye.
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 Passed unanimously. Let's go to bond reduction number 2, Brandon Wells Homesite. Any questions on that one?
I'll make a motion that we approve bond resolution number 2 and the end of warranty for Brandon Wells Home Site in the amount of $3,010.
Second?
Motion is second. Further discussion? Let's start with Councilman Summerhays.
Aye.
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 Passed unanimously. Okay, this is third one. We have to make a decision on this one. That's why I wanted to break them out. Okay, this is what we talked about in our work session. We have 2 options in front of us. Discussion. What's your feeling, council?
What was 60, what was 40?
There you go. Good memory. Hey, these right there for you.
I do have the platform heights for you, so I was able to find it from the manufacturer. So option 1, the top platform height is 12 feet. So where your feet stand, and then option 2, the top platform height is 9 feet.
Option 1 being
The-
wooden.
No,
No.
option 1
extra
is
slides.
It's the one with the moon
It's the
shaped
half
rope
moon.
structure.
The half moon,
Yep.
okay.
non-shade structure.
According to Sean,
Shade
Or,
versus
or
no
half moon and then the other one's shade, let's
shade.
call
Okay,
it.
that's fair.
according to Sean, the 60/40 was option 1 over option 2.
Okay.
According to Sean.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
And Haley, do you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I feel really good about, my initial impression was I really liked the shade. I said that in the work session. But to the committee's point, they said it's just a really small shade and you're going to pay a lot of money, lose a lot of equipment for not a lot of shade.
And I agree with that. I'd like the shade too, but I'd like to be able to afford to.
And I
do
like it,
right.
it's 3 feet taller.
Yeah, that's right.
That is really cool that
That's a
it's
difference-
12
big
feet. That's
difference
kind
when
of
you go
awesome.
9 to 12.
And I know we talked about with Island View to potentially bring back shade, but that's something we can option later, right? If we do get some serious complaints and we want to look at shade and these trees maybe aren't growing as fast, so we can look at that. But I hate to sacrifice some of that playground amenities for shade.
It means a lot to me that the kids get most excited about one, right? We're building this playground for the kids, not their parents, at the end of the day.
Next
So-
city council meeting, we're playing tag, you know.
We can buy $100 pop-up canopy tents occasionally.
We did discuss that in our brief meeting, that bring your own shade structures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked, is there a possibility of us providing temporary ones sometimes if we have staff? Who knows?
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about the parent shade at all. I'm concerned that the stuff gets too hot to be used. But this one shouldn't, hopefully the trees will make a bigger difference. And most of these slides are covered, so that will help.
Yeah.
I like option 1.
We got a motion?
Can we talk about are we needing to talk about the surface?
If you want to,
I mean,
Councilman, you're welcome.
I'm feeling-
Right now, you understand that we have a bid with
With what is the
turf.
turf?
the turf surface.
Correct.
Okay.
And I like the turf surface, so I guess
I like the turf surface as well.
all included.
I wasn't sure on that part, just to be right honest. It was nice to hear from Bruce that he had talked to Farmington City and that it sounds like it's working fine.
I was surprised. I didn't think it would last. I thought it would get matted and.
Yeah. I'm sure it will in places and they'll probably have to maintain, I mean, that's part of the
The
maintenance,
maintenance,
right?
that's the quick math I was doing is, okay, if you're at $1 to $2.
was glad you did that.
$1 to $2 per square foot. What I was getting at is staff just needs to recognize that next budget cycle, because that's something that we don't have in this current 2025 budget that will be reflected in the next year's budget. So we have to budget $7,200 to $14,000 as part of that maintenance. That's why I brought it up.
I was really glad that you did check the size and that cost, just because it helped me to kind of go, yeah, I think I am comfortable with the turf, because even that extra $1 per square foot is significant. I mean, over time, that could be additional options in our parks for,
You
you know,
start to think
additional.
of, what am I, it's an opportunity cost analysis.
Yeah, what are we giving up when we do that? So I think it's great to try the turf. Haley, do you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, just to mention, this is a playground turf, so it's very different from like your athletic fields. It's a different product.
Okay.
So it does wear differently. Also something worth mentioning with talking with Bruce to resurface all of our parks in 1 year. Annually is like, he said, just a rough number, $56,000.
We
for
can't do
the-
them all in 1 year, so we have to phase.
Yeah, you'd have to be on a,
Correct, yeah, so that's,
Maintenance cycle.
for the pour and play, which is currently within our park system.
One thing that wasn't brought up in the work session was, there was mats, Sean brought up potentially mats on the swings. The Farmington actually does a little beefier turf under the areas where it's gonna get. I think that's, he says it looks more seamless. Of course, it's not gonna blow away or be removed but anyway,
so you do those at the
good
end of
there
the,
might be an increase in
end of the
cost.
slide,
Yes.
under the swings, things
Correct.
like that, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that would be the recommendation. Again, that's not part of this bid, so just be aware that, I think that's something we should look into.
I agree.
I put staff through a very extensive research into this, because I do have turf in my playground area. And I do have challenges in maintenance where I have to bring in silica sand, power rake it to keep the blades sticking up. It does get super hot, so I have pop-ups that will spray it down real quick. And that's why I was asking those questions, but that's where the heat actually doesn't matter. It's hot in any direction you go, and I do have that play surface. It's super awesome. But I can see my seams, it is maintenance, so I brought that up. But if Farmington hasn't had that much in 5 years, that's great. Maybe it's just a better quality product than I have.
Clearfield also has a park that's in the 5-year range, south, Clearfield Elementary, just put turf in theirs as well. So I did reach out to the Salt Lake County, ex-Salt Lake County Parks and Rec Director.
Come up
here. Sorry.
It can kind of catch you, but I'd rather you be up there.
Anyway, like Brant said, we went through an extensive research and we reached out to a lot of different people. So I reached out to Salt Lake County's former Parks and Rec Director. And he said his opinion was it's a 50-50. So you're gonna have just as much maintenance as you would if you did turf as if you did pour and play. And so like if you look at some of our parks, like Freedom Hills Park, we have wear and tear, like where if you walk across that bridge, there's those parts that move and move. We have wear and tear there in pour and play. So there's gonna be similar wear and tear places. So I think if the recommendation were to come through the council, like Brant said, maybe have a little bit of a contingency to be able to put those reinforced areas at the bottom of slides and also swings as well, because we're gonna have that wear.
So this
those
is
places.
what she just had up is what we're putting in, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's bouncy, it feels pretty cool. Mine's a 6-foot fall, it's not as this. Again, I chose that for a reason, because it is cost effective, right? Because the rubberized stuff was really expensive, and I didn't want to do sand, which ends up everywhere, and it's really not a great fall. So I think it's a great solution. I've just never seen it on this big of an area. And I do have an area that's a rip, and you have to sew in a new piece. That'll look a little different than the rest of it, but again, just be mindful. But we have to do that with the rubberized stuff and the pour in place. So I think it's great. I think it's a great
One
compromise.
thing we didn't talk about was schedule during the work session. Do we have, as part of the bids, did the respondents provide schedule for installation?
I don't.
And procurement and installation?
Yeah, I mean, now is the right time so that we want to get it in the spring as soon as possible. So that they kind of know, like, we want to do this spring, so they have that in mind.
Okay. So before our 4th of July celebration?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So we're gonna open up the same time we open pickleball courts? Or close to?
It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
because
way
you
the
can't do the
temperatures-
surface. If I recall what was told to us on the pickleball, they poured the concrete, obviously, but they couldn't do the surface until you're consistently above 56 or 7? 60 and rising. Yeah, 60 and rising.
60 and
There you
rising,
go.
okay.
Well, that's the night. 16 and falling. Okay, other questions?
Are you ready for a motion?
You bet.
I move that we accept the Garrett Parks and Play bid for the community park playground equipment. Do I need to say the total, Lisa?
In the amount of?
In the amount of $349,999.50.
Second.
Second, for discussion?
Do
we need to
an
add-
amendment for the
or the
Pads?
the double thick turf or whatever.
It's big for me, if you've set part of your motion to be aware of that, that'd be fine, but it's also great just so you're aware that if we come back for a budget amendment, you're aware of it
That's
from this
fine.
conversation, whether you have a formal motion, either way.
I'm okay with the motion as is. If we need, we
And
can
I'm
just
okay
come
with
back.
the second as is, because it's gonna be an ancillary.
We don't know what the cost is
Right,
anyway,
exactly.
so.
Everybody, okay, everybody else okay with that from further discussion? Go ahead, take a
Aye.
vote. Sorry,
Aye.
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 passed unanimously. Thank you. All right, let's move to minutes. This is minutes of the December 3rd work session, the December 3rd city council. Is there any changes to those minutes? If not, a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll second.
Oh, sorry, second.
I seconded.
Way to be on.
I made the motion and Councilwoman Meekum seconded. Okay, Councilwoman Meekum made the motion and
I'll take the second.
Councilwoman Hayman seconded. All right, let's go to appointments to boards, committees, and commissions. I got Keith Roper to the tree board. More to follow. I have calls into people and I'm meeting with people, so I hope to bring you about 3 more next meeting. But I sent you the information on Keith. Do I have a motion to approve that appointment?
So moved. Looks extremely qualified.
Okay, second? Second here, Councilman Haven, Jennifer. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. Monthly financial reports, this is November. Nate has pulled them together. That makes up the bulk of your packet. He has highlights on the information there. This is not a quarter ending, so, but do you have any questions on his highlights or anything else? He is here and he's available if you do have any questions. Otherwise, that's there for your information. And he'll get to present the next meeting when we have the December one. Great. Okay, let's go to the council report. Councilmember Hirsch gets to be the lucky one today.
You obviously know what Parks and Rec has been up to the last few months, and they did a lot of, I just want to reiterate once again how hard they worked, and staff as well in keeping up with their requests for adjustments to the budgets as time went by, and they did a great job. As far as Dual Creek irrigation, it's pretty quiet right now. They are working on securing the secondary meters, the sourcing for the secondary meters. That is very problematic when an entire state all needs secondary meters. So they're working on that. They're working on impacts from the I-15 expansion, and also working on reporting water use for the state of Utah, which is required. I don't know that there's much else to tell there. Do you guys have any questions that I can pass along back to them? And I don't have anything necessarily that much different on the sewer district since the last time I reported, so.
Any questions? Councilwoman Hurst? Anybody have anything else pressing they need to report on their committees? All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor's report. The first thing I want to bring up is that, in fairness to Councilman Summerhays, we were supposed to potentially have a land use discussion tonight, and he was gracious enough to not have it. But as part of our general plan, we do want to have this discussion about specifically about housing and what we see housing may look like. So staff will have some information pulled together. I know Councilman Summerhays will have some information. I I urge each one of you, if there's information that you need to pull together for further discussion on this. Now, our work session 2 weeks from tonight, we do have our representatives and senators coming, okay? And I know that you'll have a lot of questions on that one. That one's always important. They're excited to be here. I don't know if we'll be able to fit it in there, if we have to have a special meeting or put it off till the next meeting, but we do want to have that discussion. Anything I'm missing on that?
We just think it's critical, even as staff and Mike is working with Chris, we just really want to get a sense from where you are as council. We're going to meet with community members and we really want to hear from council of what the argument, what direction the general plan should be going. And I really should have a dedicated time to do so. I think an off week of, I don't know if we want to wait till February, Mayor. I think we're getting pretty far along, Mike, and our general plan, that an off week, next week even, might be appropriate to have a meeting just to sit down and just talk about land use, or whether it's density or just general thoughts about general plan. I think we run it, but we'd really like Chris to be there to observe even. Is that fair? Do we want Chris to be there? Somas?
I think it'd be helpful.
Yeah.
He's managing it for us.
Yeah, so I think it'd be good for him to witness this conversation on what that land use looks like. We alluded to it in that last meeting with Chris, but we didn't really dive deep into land use or densities or anything like that. But as staff, we're really interested to know, and so is Chris, and what your thoughts are as we proceed, so.
Mayor alluded to it, so I'll just say it. I think it's good for us to have the presentation by Chris, but we really haven't had a chance to talk about land use planning in the city. Outside of housing or density, I think I've got some ideas about commercial zones and how can we be more efficient or allow better use of some of our parking area, just different things. So I think it'd be nice to have a discussion. Like, we should know what we're presenting to the public, and we should be providing substantive input towards that as we're going to have an open house at the end of the month.
And the idea is that all of you as council members can prepare, have a thought of what you kind of see and bring that to this conversation. So everybody's being heard and discuss the merits of each idea or concern or thought.
Is that something that everybody can fit in? We're proposing potentially a week from tonight?
Potentially. I mean, we're spitballing right now, so.
For what?
I'm available.
That works for me.
Available, there's a Parks and Rec meeting that night.
There's a Parks and Rec committee meeting that night.
They're going to do a celebratory meeting.
Yeah.
I think it's useful to have too, just from the standpoint of, I want to make sure that our input gets to Chris and his group as well too.
Can you see if Chris is available, Mike, next week? Okay. Correct. And is this something we just want to start at 5:30 and just get going on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Do we have
Remember, Heyman likes when we start, we can do it 9 o'clock in the morning.
Dude, I tried to be here at 5:30 today, so yeah, oh, that's good.
Yes.
Are we putting a time limit on this, or is it 5:30 and?
I think 5:30, I think it's, again, it's up to you and your discussion. I want to make sure it's well
I'm asking you,
discussed.
counsel. Does that, first off, does that work?
That works on my
It
schedule.
works for me. I would like to put the time to it that we need to. You
Okay.
know, I don't know that I want to put a limit on it and then we're in there and decide that wasn't quite enough, but
Okay.
I also want to be respectful of, that may not work for
This will
everyone's
make up for our
schedule.
December canceled meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, Brant, you were thinking what I spoke out loud?
Yeah.
And-
You get an
and-
extra pay this month.
Oh, did I?
Yeah,
Okay.
you get an extra $300 and there gets an
Yeah,
extra
okay.
6 for an
Thank
extra.
you.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
I want to go back 4 years on all the extra meetings.
There you go.
But anyway, I know it was
Seconded my
tongue-in-cheek
motion.
for Mr. Bangeter at the same time, but
Okay, so, 5:30, we're looking at, for a special city council meeting next week. A week from today, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
5:30, right?
Yeah.
I'll just put it in.
That is Valentine's Day. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, God, no, it's not.
That's all right. I don't like Valentine's Day, so it's fine with me if we don't celebrate.
All right, next thing, South Davis Metro is having a celebration of their 20th anniversary at 5 o'clock on Thursday night. LPC meetings are starting next, well, they go off and on throughout. So specifically for Brent and Councilwoman Hurst to know, because we are voting members, we start at 12:15 next Monday at the building over here in North Salt Lake, and then we'll be moving to, on Mondays, a couple weeks after that, at the Capitol. We will do our best to keep you informed. I'd like having, obviously, 2 other voting members, so if I miss something between us, we get it out to you. You guys stay up on bills as well, too, to affect the city. One thing that Representative Cutler and Representative Ward said to me, they said doing this on the 21st, that's the first day of the session. They said that we'll have even a better feel then than they would have had tonight on legislation that may specifically be affecting cities. So
in advance of that, I mean, are you and Gina or staff aware of any hot topic potential bills that we may need to be thinking about or aware of?
we want to, I'm not, Representative Ward said something further, he was going to introduce something further on housing, but I don't know what it is. I'd have to check. And are we aware of any? I guess I could pass on from our meeting this coming Monday. We can pass on to you the bills that the league brings up that they're going to be the hot items affecting cities.
I read today that there is, I can't think what her name is now, is proposing a bill that the state says that there can be no fluoride put in drinking water in the state of Utah.
You led perfectly into my next comment. The fluoride meeting for Davis County was canceled today. It's being rescheduled on the 22nd. It has been rescheduled. There is some legislation, I think it was brought by a Davis County representative on the fluoride issue. I've encouraged, or will encourage, Brand has encouraged Mike to exactly see what the cost is, what the risks are, everything else. That's part of this meeting that we're having on the 22nd. I don't know if you know, but there's only 2 counties in the state that have fluoride in the water.
Is
Davis
this
and
a
Salt Lake.
public meeting?
Are
they seeking public input?
The one on the 22nd?
No, they just invited leadership, mayors, and city managers to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
believe,
continue
actually, water operators too.
Water operators as well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the thought from, Mike did ask me the question, we just stay out, it's more of a political discussion, but I just encouraged him to, we're not taking a position, but we do need to state that there's precautions we have to take when dealing with fluoride concerns like the Sandy had to deal with a few years ago. But what's our cost to put fluoride in the water, and the precautions we have to take and the risks we take by putting fluoride in the water? We're not taking a position, whether it's good or bad or the benefits of, but they should be aware of what it takes to do it.
Absolutely.
So Mike's working on that letter, right, Mike?
And the corrosion on the.
Yeah, I didn't bring up corrosion.
I do
mean, you
think
go
that
into
the
you
maintenance.
go into the well, you go into the rooms and.
Well, they're replacing equipment more frequently because of that, so I think that's a really important.
So that's our position.
thing
We're
that
not
we
taking any
understand.
position whether it should or shouldn't be, just what it takes.
Yeah, just what it takes.
Randy Randall and Mike Carlson have given me the tours of what it does to our systems many times. So if you haven't done that, Mike, don't want to put more work, but one of these, you may have a call from one or all of us wanting to see that kind of stuff, so. Okay, and then anything else on that, Robin? I didn't mean to cut you off if I did.
No, I just was stating that, it may be out of the county hands and our, if the state gets it through.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what Commissioner Elliott said to me in Thanksgiving when I called him. I think I'd reported that to you already. So, All right, today I met with all the Republican representatives at a luncheon for a couple hours. Tomorrow morning, I'll meet with the Republican senators over a couple hours. Next Monday, I meet with the Senate Democrats. So I'm trying to do our best to get our issues out there and our name out there to people as well too. So I'll report back on some of those meetings as well too.
For all the time you put in, Mayor.
Oh, thank you as well too for all that you do as well. So other questions for me? Did I miss anything? Do you have questions on? Okay, great. City manager report, Brent.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple items, and I haven't had the opportunity to discuss this with Mike, but since he's gone, I'll just with Dave. As we're talking about the drainage rate increase, to be fair, with the conversation earlier where we haven't had the opportunity to do open house, we have done an open house with every one of our increases. But this audit has taken much longer than we anticipated. So we had an October 1 implementation, which we delayed till now. I'm not opposed to us delaying it so we can have that open house. Again, we're losing that potential revenue coming in. But I do think it's important that we have an open house to educate our residents and our businesses. And so I'm not opposed to that rate increase and delaying that rate increase. Do you have any serious issues with that, Mr. Walker? Again, I think we've done that with every one of our increases where we sit down, we have staff here to run through numbers to say how this impacts you. I would recommend that we potentially delay that water rate increase. I don't know what it takes, what you want to see, but I want to get through this audit, and we have a lot of compliance. We only have, I believe, 6 or 7 businesses left of the 132 accounts that we're trying to work with to find compliance. But the rate increase, I do think it'd be good to delay that until we have a chance to schedule an open house. Is that fair?
Yeah, I agree with that.
It is. We'll make, go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, it seemed like the feedback from the folks that came in was that the rate increase wasn't the biggest concern. It was the 4 years prior back billing. So I understand the need for public input, and I think that is important. Transparency is very important. So that being said, do we need to also look at that 4-year back billing as well when we talk about the rate increase?
That's entirely up to you. As staff, we're not recommending, we think that we have a lot of compliance and understanding with the 4-year back pay. I know that's tough, but just to give you some numbers, approximately $465,000 is what we back bill for. Now, we're not, with the discounts and all that, we're not going to collect all that, but we do have potentially $102,000 going out in refunds, which we, from a legal argument, do believe that $102,000, it's legally the right of those that we were overcharging for. So if you don't back bill for 4 years, you're taking $102,000 out of our account, right, out of the drainage account. That's what's in the drainage account. So again, if they have the legal right to the refund, do we have the legal right to the revenue, right? That's the dilemma we're dealing with.
That's exactly what I was going to just say. The comparison of being a roofing contractor and going back 4 years and saying, oh, by the way, I made a mistake, I'm going to charge you for this, is not an apples to apples comparison.
Well,
I vehemently disagree with that comparison, because when we found a mistake as a public entity, and I don't like the pitting of the city versus residents or the city versus business, we are Centerville collectively. We are one and the same. And so if we found an error, it's applicable to everyone at large. And therefore, if you are going to say, we're not going to charge you, effectively what you have done is charged someone else in the city.
Yeah, I don't want to necessarily go down this path of a discussion, so
Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt. If you want to have this further conversation.
You talked about drainage. I thought that was open to
I'm
you.
just talking about drainage rates. I know
Okay.
the increases that was implemented. If you want to talk about going back 4 years or now that was all done, I think you need to schedule an agenda item if you want to go into further
So that leads
debate.
into my next question. So what you've talked
And
about
you need
is,
to say that.
do you want to, Gina, you were talking in the open session about having a discussion. Are we having a discussion, are we going to create an agenda item that is a discussion about the rate increase or the 4-year back charge reconciliation?
Both,
Okay.
and not because I think anyone here will change their vote necessarily, but we have a community that does not feel like they knew about it nor had an opportunity, and they haven't heard every bit of information that all of us have had the opportunity, nor were we able to discuss that tonight because it wasn't noticed.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's how an open session is. So
So do you feel that
So-
should be more of a work session item with a business?
I don't know what the
or
right
at
is,
a
I don't know
open
what the
session
right
item?
approach is, but
A
I
public
do
hearing.
think it is important that we say, we have heard our business owners, this was a tough situation, I don't think any of us disagree with how difficult that situation was. But you know, without getting into too much more discussion, I do think it is fair. We were repeatedly asked if they could just be heard. I think it's okay to let them come in and be heard, but also give staff a chance to give them the same information that they gave us when we made that tough decision.
And I do feel like the tenor of tonight, just letting somebody vent and bring up their points helps
Yep.
take the edge off. I don't know that it's not gonna solve the problem, because to your point, Gina, is it gonna change any of our minds?
I don't know, because of what you said, but also, you know, they said some things too that resonated with me where I was like, I do think it was frustrating. They got a letter in the mail in August and, you know, within a week or two, they felt like they had to pay that to get the discount. And at this point, they're trying to stave off all of the bleed of the financial loss. I just think it's important that we recognize and let them have that opportunity.
Agreed.
So that's all.
I think on the increase, it's like they said, so these people here all know they're getting an increase. But I'll bet if you go out door to door to our businesses, 80% of them don't know they're getting an increase.
Yeah.
And they do need to build it into their fees. They do need to build, I mean, when I think of the drainage fee, I think of $4. I'm not thinking of $17,000.
Right.
So I think they do have to build that in. So I do think, to be fair with them, they should have had more notice so that they can build it in, or, you know, I mean, if you have.
And it sounds like we're talking about delaying that. I've already told Brand earlier today that, yes, I want it advertised of what's happening.
So let me bring it back real quick if I could.
Information getting out there.
We just got a discussion going, didn't we?
No, now we're
Lisa's
discussing
dying.
an agenda
Well, I
item.
think
So, wait,
they
wait.
all want to hear this.
Yeah,
So
yes.
this needs to be
Yes.
scheduled, that's the question.
Okay, so what I'm proposing is that you have two open houses, and the one open house is the drainage, because the 4 years back does not impact all of your residents, right? So you've got
Right.
two issues going on. You have an open house where businesses and residents come in, discuss the potential, where we can educate them on the capital facilities plan and what that does and how we back into those fees. And the money so we can have this opportunity to educate both residents and businesses on this increase that's happening. You can have a separate open house and give staff an opportunity to explain to the businesses, yes, they're very critical and we do care, but they also have a pretty good impact to our system that we need to account for. And here's the cost to maintain that system, and this is why your audit and your numbers are what they are. So there's two open houses. I don't mind having that conversation with businesses separately. I think it's a great opportunity to educate. I don't necessarily think it's an opportunity to change your mind, but I think it's an opportunity for you to hear their concerns, once again, maybe those who are maybe less vocal and rather do it in a private setting than in, on YouTube in a meeting. But it gives them an opportunity to come and share their thoughts with you, and it gives us an opportunity as staff to hear that. It may not change minds, but it's our opportunity to help them understand why it is what it is too. So,
I think, maybe this is just crazy to ask for this too, but Spencer was saying, asking earlier about a little bit of a rebuttal type thing, and I agree, it's not necessarily maybe a rebuttal, but I think Rick was possibly trying to drive a point with his numbers over there, and I'm not exactly sure because he didn't say it as clearly but what I was assuming was that he was maybe saying, look, this 50% increase, does that in a spreadsheet format somehow get us to where we need to be eventually had we not done the 4-year back pay? I don't know. I guess it would be nice to see some
Yeah, no, I-
the
options
proposal
out
was a
there.
100% increase, and we reduce it to 50, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah,
So
that's
again,
exactly right.
let's reserve this for a future
Yeah,
conversation.
I agree.
But
I'm sorry, my input just,
to me, it sounds like more of a work session than an open house, because at an open house, staff is just arguing with one person, and then we move to the next person, we're
We
gonna
have a
argue with that
presentation
person.
prepared
I think
and
what
people can be
the
here.
public was saying today is, we want to be heard, and we want an open dialogue with the council.
Correct.
You know,
Yes.
we can educate them, we can provide information, but, you know, if you want us to give a presentation on how we came to the numbers or why, we can do that, but I think they really want an open dialogue, which would be a work session.
So it works, you're right.
Okay.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
That's why I prefer a
That's
work
fine,
session. A
and
work,
at the-
work
Have
session
minutes.
feels more collaborative.
And well, you have minutes that go associated with it that you can share, right?
Because we have a lot of data that we can share.
Okay, so for the delay in the rate increase, do you need a formal motion? We need to put that on the next agenda for a
Yeah,
formal motion?
we'll probably do a
So-
resolution on the next agenda.
So what is there a well, we'll put something together for the next
And you can
meeting
fill in the
as a
date.
date that we discuss internally, and then you could decide if that date's good or you want to shift it. But ultimately, we just want enough time to have an open house to meet with residents.
I was gonna say, I think if you can tell us when the open house fits in,
Open house or work session?
well, open
Well,
house for
first,
the one thing.
Open house is for the rates.
Yes.
So
Okay.
first,
Fair
let's
enough.
schedule in 2 weeks, we're gonna have the rates will be in effect this date, which then we'll schedule the open house around that.
Okay.
So, and then as far as your work session topic, you're booked for the next month or so. So when do you want to squeeze it in? We don't have, Mayor and I can have this conversation offline and figure out a good time. Is that fair?
I think it would be good to have that work session discussion before the rates also, the increases go into effect.
Oh, sure, it's gonna be more,
Yeah.
it's gonna be as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Any more city manager report?
That's all I have, Mayor, thank you. Unless there's questions for me.
Okay. I'm not aware of a closed session agenda item. If I missing anything there? Okay. Anything else? If not, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Adjourn.